In the empty office building, almost everyone has left after work, enjoying their own happy evening. Only the fatigued and forlorn junior employee, Charlie, diligently copied documents. The copier seemed to be acting up. Man kicked it in frustration. Out of the blue, something strange occurred. An A4 paper came out, only showcasing a solid black ball as its sole imprint. Man carelessly discarded the worthless sheet to the side. However, when he placed his coffee cup down, it unexpectedly fell into the black hole on the A4 paper. This peculiar black hole captured Charlie's attention. He observed it carefully and discovered his hand can actually reach through the black hole. Mesmerized by this enigmatic black hole, Charlie's mind becomes a fertile ground for peculiar thoughts. His first experiment was the vending machine. He hung the paper on it, successfully reaching into the black hole and retrieving snack from inside. Munching on his newfound treats, he gazed upon his boss's office and contemplated the incessant exploitation he endures. Without the slightest hesitation, he employed the black hole to unlock the office door, only to discover a massive safe standing before him. He affixed the black hole with adhesive tape, fearlessly extending his arm inside and procured a stack of money. Man's greed knew no bounds as he incessantly retrieved wads of cash. Observing how his boss has amassed a fortune at his expense, Man deemed his efficiency lacking. Fueled by audacity, he decided to fully immerse himself in the black hole, intending to shower the room with money from within. Alas, his lackadaisical tape application betrayed him. Just as his front foot ventured into the black hole, it dislodged and tumbled to the ground. The hapless image of Man remained, futilely pounding on the safe. The man was quite daring. He reached his hand into this bizarre object without hesitation. What if the A4 paper were to fall off halfway through while he's inside? Wouldn't he be cut in half? This film, an award-winning gem from Cannes, comically delves into the depths of human greed, reminding us of a vital life lesson. Always invest in high-quality tape because low-quality tape won't stick securely. A couple discovered a strange egg in the jungle. Curious, Grant prodded it with a stick, only to witness it cracking open and unleashing a flesh worm. Before the man could react, it leaped and burrowed into his body, crawling through his veins and into his brain. When Grant woke up, his behavior took on a peculiar twist. His body was covered in red blistering spots. Even more bizarrely, he now had an intense craving for raw meat. Watching his wife, Stella, he felt an inexplicable urge. To suppress this impulse, he had no choice but to seek out his ex-girlfriend and transfer the swarm of worms breeding inside him to her. But the man couldn't hide the mutations on his body. His appearance frightened his wife, who quickly alerted the police. When the police arrived, the man was gone. They noticed something amiss in the basement, and when they opened the door, they were horrified. The woman blows up like a balloon, weighing only over 900 kilos, yet she continued to cry out in hunger. The sight terrified the police. Just as they were about to take her to the hospital, she suddenly began to move. In the next moment, her body split open. With a loud bang, she exploded, releasing countless blood-red worms. These creepy bastards go straight into the mouths of the dudes. The policemen covered their mouths so that the worms couldn't find a hole to enter. They narrowly escaped the ordeal. They carried the injured people to the side, and the man went out to seek help. At this moment, the police officers attacked by the flesh worms rose one by one, but they were no longer human. They had become mind-controlled walking corpses. A flesh worm slowly crawled toward the girl who was taking a bath. Just as the girl was about to be ambushed, the splashing sound of water startled her awake. The worm leaped and burrowed directly into her mouth. Fortunately, the girl had long nails. She grabbed the worm and pulled it out. Then she grabbed an electric baton from the table and electrocuted the worm to death. But as she ran out of the bathroom, she didn't expect her mother had already been parasitized by worms. Not only that, her sister and brother were also infected. Terrified, she lost her composure and jumped off the balcony. Countless worms followed closely behind. The girl quickly took shelter inside a car while her family turned into zombies, emerging from the house. Fortunately, passing police officers arrived, attracting the attention of the zombies. The girl managed to escape. They hurriedly fled in the car, but unexpectedly, a large truck came speeding toward them, knocking them unconscious. And at that moment, a horde of zombies approached the car, dragging the unconscious Stella out. They brought her back to the cabin. When Stella regained consciousness, she saw her husband had completely turned into a monster, but Stella wasn't afraid. Instead, she walked straight toward him, trying to awaken him with sweet words. Just as the two were about to kiss, Stella suddenly pulled out a dagger and stabbed her husband in the neck. The pain made her throw up. Fortunately, the police burst into the house in time, but they were thrown aside by tentacles. Before they could stand up, Grant controlled the tentacles, and they plunged into his body. Facing imminent death, the police officer came up with a desperate plan. He inserted one of the tentacles into the gas cylinder. He opens the valve, pouring the gas into the creature's body. Stella quickly grabs a weapon and Girls were into an intense game, squatting down, taking deep breaths and then standing up quickly. The girl collapsed to the ground. After a while, she opened her eyes and had this satisfied grin on her face. Rose also wanted to try this game. She swiftly crouched down and took quick breaths. Upon falling down, Rose experienced a hallucination. She felt as if she were immersed in a cocoon of seawater. To her surprise, she found it oddly comforting. That unreal feeling freaked Rose out big time. She hastily fled back home. In the middle of the night, Rose suddenly felt parched, but water proved ineffective. She poured half a bag of salt and chugged it all down. Only then did she find some relief. The next day, as she gazed at the goldfish in the fish tank, she was overcome by a peculiar impulse. The girl straight up grabbed a goldfish and shoved it into her mouth. She freaking ate a live fish and even felt it was oddly tasty, but once reality hit her, Rose dashed straight to the bathroom, puking her guts out like crazy. Just then, her mom come back, asking about the fish in the fish tank. She couldn't come up with an explanation and ended up arguing with her mom. To top it off, she accidentally knocked her mom over. Regret instantly flooded her being. She headed to the beach to pour her heart out to a friend, but in a freaking twist of fate, her friend accidentally fell into the sea. Driven by panic, she impulsively leaped into the sea to save her friend, despite not having a clue how to swim. And then, even more bizarre went down. While taking a shower, she discovered her freaking toes had fused together. She didn't dare tell her parents, so she went to the hospital by herself. When she took off her shoes, even the doctor was taken aback. She immediately dialed a specialist's number. While giving the girl a creepy stare, Rose felt incredibly uneasy all over her body, so she quickly made her escape from the hospital. On the way, her legs refused to cooperate, and she ended up taking a hard fall. That's when she couldn't hold back her tears. Feeling utterly heartbroken, why was she always so different from everyone else? Shortly after, she headed to the supermarket to buy scissors and bandages. Enduring the pain, she meticulously cut open each fused toe and applied band-aids to them. Yet, the changes in her body continued silently and mysteriously. The girl lifted up her shirt and found 3 freaking scars below her ribs. When she touched them, those scars were actually moving with her breath, and her legs turned completely blue, with scales popping up like crazy. Rose quickly grabbed a pair of tweezers, thinking she could pluck those scales off, but she had no freaking clue. The more she pulled, the faster they multiplied. Rose felt like her life was a total disaster. Numb and ready to throw in the towel, when she finally woke up, her legs had transformed into a fishtail. She made a call to her friend, who drove her to the nearest beach, and from that moment on, Rose embraced the ocean, swimming freely and living her best life in the sea. If you had a chance to be reborn as an animal, what would you choose? Rose's arm was pulling a disappearing act. Suddenly, her feet decided to slide out from under her. She directly hit the ground. But here's where things get really spooky. Her leg was also gradually disappearing at a snail's pace. Her husband called out to her, and Rose tried to respond, pleading for her husband to save her. However, when she touched her mouth, it had vanished as well. She looked at her hand, which was slowly vanishing at a lightning-fast pace. Had Rose been cursed? Her husband surveyed the area but no sign of Rose anywhere. Filled with anger, he returned to their room, only to find a note lying on the floor. It was their precious house purchase contract. Just recently, this family had purchased the house for $19.9. However, after moving in, eerie things began to occur. At exactly midnight, the door suddenly opened, revealing a wrapped-up humanoid figure on the bed. Rose walked over slowly and pulled back the sheets, finding a strange woman inside who kept talking. Rose's head started throbbing, and she quickly covered her ears while the woman's body rapidly dissolved. Luckily, it was just a dream, but as soon as she stepped out, Rose realized the room was completely unfamiliar. There were pictures of other people in the photo frames, and she was dumbfounded. To her surprise, they were the same people in the photographs. After a heated argument, she fled from the room, only to be chased by the mother brandishing a stick. In that moment, she recollected the previous homeowner standing in the yard, cautioning her, "Leave the house, leave the house." The woman hesitated, on the verge of departing, but then the scene from the beginning unfolded once more. Ultimately, Rose's entire family vanished without a trace. Do you happen to know where they went?